je che da zo ji cho na la jan ju ba do da ne je se da ge chi sun ji ve zo na ji do la ben ji san je do shu zang je che da zo ji cho na la jan ju ba do da ne je da ge ji yin ji ve cho na ji do la ben ji san je do shu zang je che da zo ji cho na la jan ju ba do da ne so jive chikin jive san ju la ben je san je ru shu la dang la me me dang me je on bo de je jin la so chi ju la cha wa cha ma la san je shin ba de shi de ve ju de da shi je te me jin de ne de re she je de ve je jin de re sa ve de ju ba chi che ba ta la chu de ju gu wai de la ben ya se de su ye men de an bi ta ni le ba tu la tu ve su nyan ji Namo la ye ka tan lu dan ne jin ge tu bu tan me ka nam da ro wa kun je tan nam ji san ba tham je ke do ta gu che den do o ya da te ani la run du de yin ne ga so xin ne ngan ro me ji den me ji te yi ji jo kun jo sum do ne te yi la ja yan ba me ba yang te ya ka na lian de le sam ne lang do chu xin zhu la ra le so chen ni o song wa na xin yi chen ni da ka san kan yi ge subject console jam zhou yang de gan la ane jam zhou du de la ji de ni ge wa yin yang xin qian ni wo da je wa de lian me lian qi jie la ane lian yi wang ge jie qi jie le qi wa la ma de ba yin zang ane xin ne o xin ne an zhen me ji de me jin si ane xin ne jie wa lian de gan na ya rang ge ane rang wang ge jie me ba le gan na ge jie su zhang wa yin zang ane da ngan zhou me ji we den me ji me se xin ne ngan zhou me ji den me ji da ngan song de qi na ane me ge we le ji de bu de la dong a le me ba yin zang me ge wa la dong a chung so yang ane ngan song la de dong a le me ba yin zang ane de ga de da la zhe be de zhe ji de su le sa na ane da gun zhe sum xin ne ngan zhou me ji den me ji te yi ju zhe gun zhe sum du ne se song da ane gun zhe sum la jia su zhe be jam zhou la de ne ane da jam zhou na ba ta ba ji chung na ane ti ge ngan song ge dong a la jiao niu ba gun zhe sum la jia su zhou wa zhen ji yang me xiao ba ane jam zhi la jia ka sa kan yi tuan ba na xin yi qian ni ga zhu ji la jia zang ti na ne jam zhi la jia ge so ti ane da lian de ji la lian xie de ba de ti ji zhou de ti ji ti la jia yan ba me ba yam si da la jia yan ne la jia na ge zhou de tian ga na lian de le sam ne si ga la ga bo ge le dang na bo me ge we lian ni ge ga bo ge wa le la dan ne ane de wu de wa chung wa dang na bo me ge we le la dan ne ane de wu dong wa chung wa yin zang da nga rang zuo de wa de ba da dong wa me ji ba rang jie su ye ba yin zang ane lang do ka sa na na me ge we le bong kan do zang ane de wa ge we le ane zhu kan do qi ge yeah.
So yes, now as we said yesterday, we were discussing the process of refuge, the way in which we take refuge, and then what we have to do once we have taken refuge. This is expressed likewise in the abbreviated Lamrim of Je Rinpoche, Je Tsongkhapa, and in that there are verses that have the meaning such as follows, that once we're born, we're going to die. That is, as soon as we're born, it's determined, in fact, that we're going to die. There's no way to avoid that. That death is inevitable, and the time of when it'll occur is uncertain for us. And that being the case, we have to think that this is coming very quickly. It could be today or tomorrow. We don't know, but it's coming quite rapidly. And when we die, it's certain that we're going to be reborn into another state of existence. We don't have any control over this process. It rather is driven by karma, and that's what determines the kind of birth that we're going to take in our next life. So when we understand that properly, and then we realize also that what's likely to happen in the next life is that we're likely to be reborn into one of the evil states of existence, lower states of existence, because of the way the karma operates. It's, as we said, easy to create bad karma. It takes effort. It's difficult and rare to create positive karma. So the propensity to fall into a lower state of existence is very heavy and present. And then we think about the kinds of sufferings that we'll have to undergo in the lower realms of existence. And based upon that, if we're intelligent and do this properly, we develop a kind of terror of that, the probability of falling into a lower state of existence in our next life. And then once we have that fear or terror, then we have to think who's able to, or what's able to protect us from falling into the lower states of existence. And again, once we understand the instructions properly, we realize that it's only the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, that are able to protect us, provide us refuge from that which we fear. So based on that confident faith in the ability of the three jewels and the fear that we have and their ability to protect us from that fear, then we're able to take refuge at the basic level. And on that stage of taking refuge, what we have to do is think, yes, it's the three jewels, and particularly the practice of the Dharma that is the primary refuge that we go to for protection from that falling into the lower states of existence. But it's not enough just to have that wish or attitude. Rather, we have to actually engage in the instructions that pertain to that level of taking refuge. And these instructions, as we said, are primarily learning the things that we're supposed to avoid and learning that which we're supposed to take up. In terms of the things that need to be avoided, then it's primarily the avoidance of the 10 kinds of non-virtue. The non-virtues, because really it's what causes us to be reborn into the lower states of existence and to suffer in general is the 10 our engagement and performance of the 10 non-virtues. So first, the basic instruction then thing to be followed is to avoid the 10 non-virtues. And then in terms of the practice as well, that's really the primary practice here. You take up carefully avoiding the 10 non-virtues. That's the basic level of going for refuge that we discussed already yesterday and the day before.
Oh yeah, that tenderly, ani lende la yisi chebar de jiwa la, lende la yisi jiwa tiang, ani ta kasore ko. le dan de nergap de nane ani 신도 고주 예장 아니 좀된 대기 아니 레네게 나사 좀 봐라 이시게 와시고 거래 대개와라 좀된데 아니 참미지고 다 대소와 나신신이 토마로면 처진남부 참만주와 돌아 판셔와 덤바 대시 좀 레단 대비는 아니 gemigi lelan deun de du jo sumba de jomden de ji sung 균전도 채와 마도 리베 좀 메주바 jomden de ji sung 주대 인상가 jomden de ji sung바 따를 안에 되라 내와 de jomden de 섬미주 주바라 랴랴 거와리 이장 참만 주원 돌아 판셔와 제 jomden de 랑도진 내던 발라 치 랑도진 내 치지 말로 바되베 참미지고 인바데 남들 가서 랑당 도지 오네 탑당제와 르제바 강대 채만 뉴데 탐제를 제 마이노 소아나시 랑도지 내던 발라 치지 말로 바 왜 치지 말로 바 등게 기우데 아니 탐 채매 기우데 이단디 참만 주와스 네 텐더에 참매 참마 좀 되는 참매 주 대양 참을 주와 대양 아니 따바란 중그 기우 많이 봐 리메다 미디미 줄라야 제바 많이 봐 원래 가서 지된 거 봐도 되게 채와야 많이 봐 워낙 가려야 되는 중화에서는 돌아 펜시와 덤바 대시 좀라 차차로 세가 돌아 펜시와 서 아니 또 담비 주대 저완인지 전부 저완인지 전부 콤발에 중화 남들 가서 두지 콤레테 전에 송아나신 전에 저완인지 전부 돌아 펜시와 세와게 저완인지 전부다 Dumba Shewani, Ani Jovatoni to be shared in Bari. Dumba Shewani, Jovatoni to be shared the Chani, Tendravi, Ani Tabji Chaba, Zawani Chambodang. Wani Kasore, Sheriff Chaba, Zawani Taka Sheriff, Ani Tony to be Sheriff Sunday, Yamsu Lambe, Rimba, Hindu, Ani Junjiri Tamjari, and Balabara Seti. Ani Kasore, Ani Tarjun Gusa, and the Gunda de Junga, Yonga Hinzang, they say Chop, said, Never Sheba, said la, Bamba de Varsheva, and Toba de Varsheva, Ivari. Bamba de Varsheva, the Toba de Varsheva, said the Bamba de Varsheva, said the Nyumba Separa, to me Sabra Pamba Pamba Te. The new Sabra Pamba, yeah, then you will use it.
No, because Loben Chogilang Budgi.
Chorangi, Samar Juba, Drola Pensheba, this one.
So here then, when we think about karma, and in order to understand karma properly, how is it that karma works? That is, how is it that our actions produce, non-virtuous actions produce suffering, our virtuous actions produce happiness? The specific causality there, that is, how it is that karma operates, is something that is an extremely obscure or hidden kind of phenomenon. It's not something that we can establish from our own direct experience. It's not something that can be established through inference fully. So that being the case, it's only through relying upon an authoritative, someone who is an authority and has themselves have understood this properly and have developed themselves into being an authoritative teacher of this, that we're able to understand this. It's not something, again, that we can get, we can't see it, we can't establish this exactly through inference. So it's something that we have to rely upon the testimony of someone who is an authority to be able to understand this properly. And this is explained, this topic of establishing the Buddha as the authoritative teacher of a topic like this is explained at the outset of some of the fundamental texts on valid cognition or on epistemology, the process of knowing and reasoning and so forth. By the master Dignaga expresses this at the beginning of his compendium of valid cognition, and then this is also explained in detail by the master Dharmakirti, who is commenting upon this. So at the beginning of the compendium of valid cognition, means of valid cognition, then it starts out by by praising the Buddha as a teacher. And there are a number of different epithets or special titles that Master Dignaga applies to the Buddha in that context. He calls the Buddha
아니 domba shewa de jo dame to be shera chene chamal juwa de ane kare re sa tambi jude ruche tuje komle te chene namje gar so wana se zawa nyingji chenbo tang ane jowa dame to be shera komba la tene ane dewara shewa pando dewara shewe kwanam dewara shewa de ane pando deshe ni보다 토비 권에 아니 두자남 스바 코와당 시위 아니 시위 동안에 아니 껴봐 잡아 단디 안에 천다로 된지시래.
So he's praised, the Buddha is praised by Master Dignaga there as an authoritative being, a being who is himself him or herself the embodiment of valid cognition. And likewise, he praises the Buddha as the Sugata. Sugata literally means one gone, well gone, or something like that. Sugata, so he's the Buddha is the embodiment of valid cognition and is an authoritative source of valid knowledge in that, because he has, or he or she has achieved a level of perfection which entails the elimination of all faults and the development of all good qualities. And this achievement is done through the development of the perfect level of the wisdom that understands the nature of reality, as well as having produced great love and compassion and perfected that on the method side of the path, and generated those such that they're fused together, integrated. And in that way, by producing that path, the Buddhas have thus eliminated all faults and developed all good qualities, and actualized all of the special achievement of abandonment of all of the obscurations, not only the obscurations which are mental afflictions, but likewise the subtle obscurations that prevent the achievement of omniscience. And then on the acquirement side, they've acquired all of the good qualities of that constitute the state of Buddhahood. That's roughly what he said.
That's quite little. But this is job says on some of your dollar pension was. Then that jump in there, that carried you made a meeting with you like my imba. I need you carry a tumbares and so one inch with the diamond of a share of combalachon. Javares, Combale. Diamond of a share of combale, and it are carried as an the dishes, any Jevala. Chamanam de Gas, Juban and then some dishes, said Juban and then some dishes. Juban and then some dishes, Ju Shevagi, dishes, Denji, Kondo Shevagi, the one inch Chimbotan, you damn it of a sheriff. Tender with Tapsi Sunday, Yansu Lembala, then, and it that Carsore. New Mombi Jibateta, New Mother Shiji Jibateta, Remba, Shinduya. Bangde. Tarer Yamo but the Shiji to Maliba Pampe, and a Papa de Shit, Tokyo, Jubang, Yende, Zum de She, say Gala, Maliba Pamata, Lamitoba Pamatan, and Casore, Bamba, say, oh, Bambam, dinner, let's ever ship us soon today. Bamba, Lamitoba Pamba, Maliba Pamba, said the Pamba de Shisum to Simbari.
So then, likewise, as far as Sugata, this term Sugata, literally well gone or gone to that which is good, is understood, is explained in a number of different ways. Basically, it comes down to that Buddhas are beings that have eliminated all of the obscurations, defilements from themselves. And they've done that in a gradual sequential process, eliminating the obscurations which are mental afflictions initially, and then the obscurations which prevent omniscience eventually through the gradual process. And then by that process of elimination of all of the obscurations and the stains of them from themselves, then they actualize sort of abandonments, the getting rid of those things, and those abandonments are the abandonment, or the Sugata is a being that is actualized perfect form of abandonment, in that they've eliminated them in three ways. That is, they've gotten rid of them not just temporarily, but such that they won't arise again. And then they've gotten rid of them in their entirety from the root, such that they're eliminated in their entirety.
Oh yeah, that tend to what they combat, combat Tang, Tomane, and the Takarasore, Simjan, 탐제라미 베자와 인제 마제와라 섬전 초려와라 미비 인제 제 섬전 초려와라 미비 인제 제네 되네 섬전 탐제라미 비 인제 제 공부라 때네 아니 타를 안에 섬전 탐제라미 비 인제 전부 제대 가소래 디나라 손주가나 인제 탐에도 펴와 세대 아니 탐에도 펴와 세대 검지지 연락다 말라 막 공부하잖아 아니 검지 되나 나네 가나 사나타도 주롱 땡땡바당 아니 검지지 연락 다 마자와 공부하잖아 검지 되나 사나타도 주롱 되게 인제 루지 투지 공부할 때 루지 투지 공부할 때는 아니 저 다음에 또 비셔럽지 근데 왜 탑시 손대 냠술렘 발라 때네 아니 다 왕바대시 숨된 나와게 아니 저 참아지 줘봐
건다 예마son kan
잘했어요
la mentor是吧
좋아요 가르치면서
네. 그래서 닝제
탐에도 펴와 세대고로 이 담보대 루지 투지 고물라 대스리 이제 공부 타르쳐 가지고 오고 와라 이제 공부 타르쳐 봐도 고매대 가래서나 심전 초려와라미 이제 제 걔네 대라 이제 제디 강라 탐제라미 이제 제디 이제 대 권에 공도 펴와대 아니 이제 대 심지랑신 심라대 땜 심라 땜바당 땜바 심사지 대라 땜바다 땜바당 아니 검지지 연락당 마자와 공부하잖아 검지 되나 산나타도 중화
심기서를 덴덴바
심사 인지대 댄서대 심사를 땜바로 왔으면 심지연대로 하고 시와 그봐 다때 검지지 연락당 공부 체계가라 검지 되나 산나타도 중 빼난 되자다고 배샤거래 들어 대자다 오데 섬지사리라 땜바인상 아니 대자 강라 기위 유텔라 미네 곰 강라 대자 기위 유데 사나타도 지가라 랑기 딘도 라베 리도 예바다고 담 미경어섬도 통도 예바데 다 연구하러 와 그와 어때 나신 체네요
So then the way the explanation of this verse continues by talking about how the Sugata is so called because of the perfection of compassion, love and compassion that Buddhas actualize in the course of developing the path. In the previous section, I should have mentioned that the way in which these achievements, the abandonments and the attainments are actualized is through the integration or joining together wisdom and method. That is, on the wisdom side, the understanding of emptiness in a perfect fashion, and on the method side, the development of compassion and love and bodhicitta, and then the activities that one engages in by means of motivated by that love, compassion, and bodhicitta. And so that's how the abandonments are primarily actualized through wisdom, and the attainments primarily, but not exclusively, by the method side of the path. Then it says here that the Sugata is someone who is Buddha, is someone who has actualized perfect love and compassion. Love and compassion, that the Buddhas have actualized is not limited in any way, but the way in which this is developed is actually through starting off with just the ordinary kinds of compassion that we might feel, or first of all, we have to develop compassion which is partial or limited in the sense of the sentient beings for whom it's directed, or in the degree to which it is produced. And then gradually over time, we have to develop that so that it's not limited to a subset of all sentient beings, but rather is inclusive of all sentient beings in their entirety. So that's the general process of how compassion is developed. Now, how does this work? Well, the basic character of the mind is that it's clear and knowing, or clear and aware, and that basic nature of the mind is such that it's suitable to serve as a basis for the development of all kinds of different attitudes. So for example, with desire, we can see this in our own experience, that the basic character of the mind is simply sort of clear and cognizant, or clear and knowing. But when we habituate ourselves to desire, that is, we take a particular object that we view as attractive and desirable, and then we think about that over and over and over again, meditate on it, in effect, as this desirable thing. Then the basic clarity and awareness character of the mind is so infused with that desire that the object of desire can appear to us, even when it's not present in the environment or whatever. It just will appear to us so automatically or naturally. So that's the basic way in which the mind functions, that the basic clarity and cognitive nature of the mind, basic clarity and awareness, are susceptible to being infused with different kinds of thoughts or different mental states. And therefore, the same thing can be applied to compassion. You start off by developing compassion for those that are dear to you, and you can develop that more easily. But then if you can then expand that to include other sentient beings that are not dear to you, eventually even your enemies, then gradually the basic character of the mind can be such that it's suitable to be infused with a positive kind of mental state, such as compassion, so that eventually the mind can be compassionate in a kind of spontaneous and natural fashion, similar to the way that we can see desire operating within our mind. So that in the case of compassion, then one can constantly and automatically have that compassion towards all sentient beings, something that has to be developed through the path. But here then the sugata is being, that epithet of the Buddha is also, or I'm sorry, having the Buddha having great compassion is, Master Dignaga is saying that a Buddha is a person who has undergone that process of transformation through habituation to compassion, such that the compassion now becomes not limited, but is spontaneous and encompasses all sentient beings.
Oh yeah, that tender we concept. Bang Juban and then the system then in Batang. And the time near Watang. I need the time to pay Ribatala then. I need Jum then the time Joe in Batlot, Castle, Loda Chair, Cadere, and Jum then the 가소리 대신에도 랑당 토지고 원에 타다자와 르자바 세가라 대신이 누구니 반자다 아니 고람니요데 톱자 아니 누가 용서 셰베가나 죽군 좀 뽕아당 뽕도 뽕아 데라테네 고대 토바 고대 토제가 남들 안줄래 깨와 된서 숨바된서 아니 리바키 강아 숨바데 아니 리바양달라 때는 루투바 연장 베텔라 권이 아니 고주그치 신우 고주그치 유개와 채와라 대와 총하다 미개와 채와라 대우 아니 동아 총하다 신바당 와라 때네 롱제 총하다 추주성 와라 때네 된도 제와 대다장 아니 좀된 대기 롱라 때네 롱텔라 때네 아니 오다 가소래 숭발라 밀로가 연바데 담에 체명해 거래
So thus, once we've understood these various good qualities of a Buddha, and the possibility that there is a being that has actualized these kinds of good qualities, then that is someone who we can establish their authority, that is, that they're reliable as an authority by investigating and analyzing what they say. The teachings of the Buddha, the script that are contained within the scriptural collection, but it's the teachings themselves that are what has been transmitted down to us. those can be investigated through reasoning. That is, we can look at the Four Noble Truths, for example, that we can understand suffering, we can understand the causes of suffering, we can understand, come through analysis and through inference, establish the basic principles of the Four Noble Truths, and then understand that through the elimination of suffering, and the causes of suffering, one can actualize cessation, and that cessation comes about through the cultivation and development of the path. When we investigate that properly and can establish it through reasoning, then we can see that a person who taught that kind of method and taught that explanation of reality in an unerring sort of fashion that is establishable through valid cognition, that that person themselves is a valid being, a being who is an authority and and we can have confidence in their testimony with respect to other things which cannot be established through inference or through our own direct experience. Things such as that by performance of virtue we'll experience happiness, by the performance of non-virtue we'll experience suffering. That kind of causality is something that is extremely obscure, a very hidden kind of object that has to be, we can only know it through relying on someone who's an authority for explaining that kind of thing. And that authority, their validity as an authority is in turn established by examining carefully the rest of their statements so as to determine that they are reliable in that way. So in this verse then, Master Dignaga and Master Dharmakirti as well are explaining how it is that the Buddha is a reliable being and are praising him for that.
Oh yeah, that's it. 가서래 태미지우 가서 태미 지우 임바 로다 쳐봐되나 아니 다 가르러 오세나 대답이 damage 남들 가서야 damage나 주미송 세대우 매비천 주송하게 아니 제우요 damage나 주마소 쉐와다지 최대한 소지 아니 좀 된데지 수기 잡아 타다 밀루와 쉐네 아니 얘가 공도 밀루와 쉐나 아니 좀 된데지 숨비 또도 로바 잠지랑 로 잠지장 아니 렌데라 이치비 이제나 다 겨와 damage나 주미송 세대우 지셰비 대우 매비치나 damage나 주미송 와 쉐와다지 최대한 소지 수기 잡아 타야 타다 아니 다 밀루와 루와메 바 쉐나 아니 좀 내지 숨비 또도 로바 잠지장 아니 렌데라 이치비 이제나 다 기그레.
So once we've established that the Buddha is an authority in that way and is reliable as a source of valid knowledge, then we can further understand that because it would be there would be no purpose in the Buddha expressing something that is false, and for the Buddha to tell lies, then in effect they can't tell lies because it's purposeless. There's no benefit in it, and therefore once we've gained that kind of understanding of these facts, then simply by reading the sutras one can develop a great deal of confidence in the workings of karma, the karmic causality.
Oh yeah. Dili 렌데라 이치비 이제 남다 다 가서래 깨가지고 그래 렌데라 이치비 이제 남자한테 매나 니 매나 렌데라 이치비 아니 이치비 이제 남다지 매나 감성 유점라 꼬투비 아니 두두함 등여장 아니 뒤지 치비 인도레마다 편도요 말이 송과리 인도비 제나마 송가와 침비장 디라세가라 렌데라 제민징에와 마녀나 치카라야 자와제바킹에와 미니 세니 아송거레.
Do you know what page you're on? 119. 19. If one doesn't have that, then even if one has the confidence to be able to circle throughout the three realms of existence in a single moment, this is something that's just the power that you gain the sort of confidence of someone. You've in effect been duki jimbe ningto. So thus, if one doesn't have that kind of confidence, solid conviction in the authority of the Buddha, and particularly to solid confidence and in the workings of karma, that is that the karma, as we've described previously, the causality that is karma, then even if you've got the kind of confidence that would enable you to circle the three realms of existence in a single moment, that's just the kind of confidence which can be given to you by Mara, the deceiving being. And J. Rinpoche himself said that if you've not gotten certainty about this, which is not artificially contrived certainty, but a genuine kind of certainty about that, then you have not attained any kind of So you won't, if you don't have that confidence in the workings of karma, then you won't have confidence with respect to the Dharma in any way that would please the victors, the victorious Buddhas. So that's one statement from Lord Tsongkhapa, and then he also said, therefore, if you have to develop that kind of certainty with respect to karma, the cause and effect, karma as cause and the effects, the happiness and suffering that arise from it. You have to generate that kind of confidence, ascertainment of that, and firm confidence in it. And then, having done that, you need to day and night at all times, with a single-pointed thought about this. One needs to guard one's behavior, both your verbal behavior, your bodily behavior, as well as your mental behavior. And in that way, you'll be able to cut off falling into the lower realms of existence. But if from the very beginning, at the very outset, you don't know much about the differentiation of cause and effect. That is, how it is that virtuous actions produce happiness, non-virtue produces suffering. And even if you do, even if you do know a little bit about this, if you simply act in a way which is sort of carefree with respect to your three doors, the body, speech, and mind, that is, you sort of, without being cautious, with circumspect about your mental, physical, and verbal behavior, you simply go about your day, then what you're doing is actually opening the door to the three lower realms of existence.
Oh yeah, that thing that landela, ani kasalando kinela, ngewa yabuchi nyeti kana, ani gosu meke wala juba tela, meke wela juna yang, ani tela kaso tiki jebu, ani kaso re dunga junga te shene, ani shadong la beti yongo embari.
So thus, once we understand that properly, and then we realize that karma produces effects, our actions produce effects, and particularly that our negative actions produce suffering, and then once we have that, then it's essential that we should study, learn, and engage in the practice of confession.
차제 전부 심지 친이 통화디 아니 소소 주장라 라레베 나네 아니 디바 샤와텔라 당에 디마마 로금 시주면 되는 딜 류지다 망보지 셰제제 조사 말이 돈도 마시고 심지 친이 통화 세기다 친이 통화 소소 주장라 라레베 나네 이제 봄당 아니 동샤니 자자 가만 온도 땅네 세대가 이제 봄다 아니 동산이 자자 가만 온도 땅네 세가 다더니 디바 가서래 내가 다 동안 미제 바라세서 예배 응아제진 디바 대다게 아니 대부 동안 진바 아니 이些니도 잠바 아니 디바 대다 랑게 채와예자 디바데 아제기 디바 대다라 양 샤네 타바요와데 디바 코란 거 연대인 바래 와 디바 첨보 참매바 제바지 이나야 아니 고로 다야 그요 다주여 봐 연장 다디 sem이 신이 통하나 파도 제바기 디리 정고와 연장 다 대시 동아들라 아니 여보 도시 참여권에 아니 디리 정고에 와 여보 군도 제 도시 참여권에 아니 디도 디바 칸데지 이나야 아니 마다바 짜네 매봐 인장 여보 도시 되라 다 도시 제가라 아니 가서래 남바 순지베 dob당 아니 네발라 라도베 토당 땡지 dob당 아니 남바 순지베 도 네발라 라도베 도 땡지 도 여보 군도 집에 도 전에 어다 도시 투스인 말이 윤윤이다.
So thus, this leads into the next topic, which is the practice of confession. Confession is an essential practice, as it says here in the root text, where it says that in order to, in the root text, it says in verse 4, in order to see the nature of mind, you have to accumulate a massive merit and purify yourself of obscuration. It depends upon that. Therefore, one should recite about 100,000 100-syllable mantras and engage in as many hundreds of acts of confession as possible, a confession of the infractions of the vows and such that one has committed. So as a sort of preliminary to the actual, or preliminary practice, but this here is explained in more detail, where it's explained that sort of one can also almost say the qualities of non-virtue is that non-virtue, no matter how heavy it is something that can be purified and cleansed from us. There's no, of course, with minor non-virtues, one can see that, but with even the heaviest kind of non-virtuous action, heavy negative karma that one has committed, this has as its basic property that is something that is suitable to be cleansed or purified from us. And that being the case, then we need to engage in the proper method for purifying ourselves of these negative actions that we performed and their propensities. And therefore, it's explained how to do this, that that there's So as far as the way in which these negativities are cleansed from us, or we're purified of them, there's different degrees of this. That is, we can reduce the impact of a negative action that we've committed in the past. That is, lessen its force. We can do that to a number of degrees in turn. And then even further than that, it's such negativities are such that they can be completely cleansed or purified from us, such that they won't produce any kind of effect whatsoever. That's sort of the full removal of them. But in either case, the method for doing that is by the employment of performing confession practice with the 4 powers, which serve as antidotes to negativities, negative karma. So the 4 opponent powers are that turning away from performing the actions, first of all, having regret for the action that one has performed, thinking of it and recognizing it as a negative action, having regret for that, turning away from the negative action such that forming the firm intention not to engage in it again, and then relying upon the power of a sacred being or sacred object as a support for the purification of the negative action that one has performed, and then engaging in different kinds of practices that function as antidotes to these negative actions.
Oh yeah, that the Bashaya de la Carre sana yamotopsi time yokone, ani yijapum de dang, Kasashuanashi, ani Tusha Kokone, Chanko Inza, that yijapum de Gala, Dosisabukon de Tevukone, Ijatum Pong down or Dosisabukon de Tevukana, Ujap de Gala, ani Dosisabukon de Chizukana, Arani Dosisaba Jede, ani round Dosisaba Savage, Inga, ani Tungitala. 이제권이 아니다 이제 안에 가서 또 있어ಬೇಕು 대시에 지당 다른 남주 연라 안에 산지 주성기 아니 다제 그 온도기 시디간라 랑게 조라 안에 또 있어ಬೇಕು 매치기 자신이 요아이 말에
So there's 2, and then as it says in the text here, performing confession and purification through that. And then in addition, the other practice that's mentioned is the recitation of the 100-syllable mantra of Vajrasattva. The way in which this practice of the recitation of the 100-syllable mantra of Vajrasattva is done, there are 2 ways in which it is done. There's here meditating. You meditate upon yourself as Vajrasattva. You generate yourself as Vajrasattva with, and then at your heart you have a white hung, and surrounding that is the mantra itself, arrayed in a circle around the central mantra, around the central hung. And then that's one way to do it, and then doing the recitation and visualizations that go along with that. And then the other way of doing it is the way in which it's commonly done at the beginning of sadhana practice texts, where one visualizes Vajrasattva, who's the sort of essence of all of the Buddhas of the 3 times and 10 directions, upon the top of your head, and do the visualization as it's described in those practice texts.
Oh yeah, that's it. Those people come to Canada. 아니가 다치고 고매지 세계가라 아니 랑이 지주게 탈가기 dunye 나가라 내라 아니 저유 사담니 아니 저유 아니 그 자산인 군주는 불로 이날에 양 첨조수 가사다고 이나야 아니 도지 저 도지 셈발라 아니 리달라 랑길 라마슈여 밤 제지 사담니 아니 텔라 점점 섬제 시에텔라 아니 군조선라 제수로 섬제 탐제 다그로 장주년랑 거바지 자주 셈니 안다제 세니 다 가사슈와 나신 점점 섬제 내숨체 나도 직접 다제를 원하시러와
So now then there's two different ways of explaining how to do this meditation and recitation practice of Vajrasattva. The way here we'll just mention it is visualizing first in front of you the assembly of all of the your lamas and Buddhas, bodhisattvas, and so forth. They're the different ways of describing the assembly field of merit in front of oneself. One does that according to whichever method one is employing. And then on top of one's head, one visualize at the crown of your head, visualize Vajrasattva and understand that Vajrasattva is is the appearance of your own root guru on the top of your head. And then you go for refuge, as it's explained, for example, in the self-generation of the Vajrabhairava text, that sadhana, where it says that I go for refuge to the three jewels. I will So you do it according to that, like the verse, beginning verse in that practice text. I go for refuge to the three jewels. I will liberate. So you do the going for refuge and development of bodhicitta in that way. I go for refuge to the three jewels. I will liberate all sentient beings. I will place them in I will place I will liberate all sentient beings. I will place them in the state of awakening. I will properly generate bodhicitta. I'm sorry, I don't remember it in English.
그래서 오야 다대 점도 랜숨 체대 나랑도 디바사야 그 안에 대 사야 그 신대라 아니 야나 semjala 되나 디바사야 지당 야나 야 안에 겨유라 되나 사야 지라 니송의 거리 semjala 되는 디바사 사바 되게 semjo권이다 강라 때는 안에 디바사와 때는 강라 제는 때는 제 살아 제와 제 살아 때는 랑거와 나신 전에 강라 때는 디바사와 때 살아 때는 다 안에 정고고와 인상 아니 semjala 때는 디바사와 때 semje체 어니 다 야르 군조라 때는 디바사와 때 점도 체체 강라 점도 semje체와 때 땡지 또또 산도 심바래.
So thus, now what we're doing there in this context is a purification of negativities. And when we've created negativities in the past, we've done it with respect to, on the one hand, the three jewels. We've performed various negative actions with respect to them, or with respect to sentient beings. So this practice of going for refuge and developing bodhicitta is a way of purifying those negativities, because by going for refuge to the three jewels, that that serves to diminish and to purify us of the negativities we performed with respect to the three jewels. And then by generating bodhicitta, the aspiration to become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings, we are purifying the negativities that we've created through, in respect to all sentient beings. And so in this way as well, this way of generating going for refuge and generating bodhicitta also includes within it the power of the support in terms of the four opponent powers. That is, one is using sacred beings and sentient beings as the basis for your confession and purification.
Oh yeah, then 가서래 교육도 많이 군조선을 접수해 교육들이 안에 지담지 타를 안에 도시선바 쪽 도시선바들 팀니 태양 안에 랑게 조네 마순도 랑실라마이당 오예메도 안에 매와태당 안에 가서래 telama 여기 오예메도 매 태당 오예메도 매와 대체
랑심 라마단
랑실 라마이당 아니 오예메도 매와 telama티 태당 예메도 매
So then, after you've gone for refuge and generated bodhicitta, then you think that the assembly field that you visualized in front of you, it dissolves in the sequence one into the other, dissolves down, and then then finally dissolves into Vajrasattva, who you consider, you have a firm conviction that this is your own mind, which is indistinguishable from all of the gurus and meditation, the deities, and is appearing in that form.
Oh yeah, then 다 도시 선바 주 도시 선바 공대가나 안에 랑게 주 방래 빼마다 알란다 왜经过지딩도 안에 밤래 이게 밤래 안에 빼마 이게 알래 안에 다외 중고 다외 중고 지딩도 안에 방래 번 알래 다외 중고 지도 홍래 도시가 뭐 쟁아봐 안에 어때와라 홍게 챈바 삼을도 안채
So then one thinks then that that is appears in the form of first of all a syllable pum transforms into a lotus, and then upon that a syllable transforms into a moon disk, and then a syllable hung appears in the form of a five-pronged vajra standing up, which at the center is marked by the syllable hung.
Oh, Panabemada alle de Hungle Doja Capo Zangawa, Dewala Hungi Tamba, and it tell you say trade to eat. Say trade to eat chairs, you are that tell you say trade you say trade can tea, tell you say trade, you say we say part of it, but something Tandanya about trade. And you say Nella Doja Samba, you really trade, and it's some Yatamja thing. 안에 도시선바야 요래래 커봐 삼았다에 하고서
SGB
세기 내라 도시선바야 요 빠도면 봐줘지 심지어랑 그 띵데 도시선바야 미래리 안에 휴바 뭐 커봐매
심진 탐제라 Yeah. Ale. Oh, okay. Are you sure? Are you sure about that? Yeah. Oh. No. Again, because 으스드비 야빔.
예세레 트비 예세기 네모라 도시선바야 요 레르디 심지어 탐제기 아니 주로 도시선바야 요 레르 커봐챔.
So now then you visualize that from that Vajra, all of this is white, the lotus, the moon, and the Vajra as well. So from that Vajra, you think that limitless light rays are radiating out from it, and these light rays are as numerous as all of the sentient beings throughout the entire expanse of the universe. And at the tip of each of those light rays, you think that there is a Vajrasattva, both mother-father form of the Vajrasattva, and that at each of those light rays then goes out to the top of the head and places a Vajrasattva in mother-father form on top of the head of each of the sentient beings throughout the universe.
Oh yeah. 아니 심지어랑 그 띵 아니 지워 도지사 봐 야용 커버데 야용 냠바시비 전담네 아니 창조 시스템 기균 바베 아니 심지어랑 그 지워네 마 쇼데 토마메 바나사위 디디 바자다 제바 타데 아니 도지셈비 콤바라 도지셈비 오르추와 도지셈비 콤바라 거바.
Then you think that from the mother-father Vajrasattva that are placed upon the heads of all of the sentient beings throughout the universe, that where they're joined together, from that place there descends a stream of nectar which enters in through the top of their heads and fills them up and purifies them of all of the negative actions, the obscurations that they have produced from beginninglessly, and they're completely purified of all of those negative actions and obscurations.
Oh yeah, 아니 대비 홍이 되라 아니 요새 최비나무 최비나무라는 그 최자 도바 빠도매 봐 뜨디 아니 초지자와 세단자와 탐자라 쳐봐 푸디 대다 그 투지라 아니 대동기 시켜봐제 제바매 대담제지 초지자와 삼제지 지름류도 탐제 뒤지에서 아니 뒤지에서 다제위 넘버를 봐 꾸디 아니 가소래 너지 대화기 홍이 되라 팀바 지금 유도 탐재장 semjen 탐제 아니 도시세비 컴바나 거바 탐제 추루 뒤데 아니 지위 도시세비 투기 가서 대외기 안에 도시 홍나 제와라 팀바텔라 되니체 뒤 세대 도 통과래 되니체 뒤 란데나 현재 니체 뒤대 안에 도시텔라 팀발라 뒤 고소 한번에 현재 금이 받텔라 아니 도시대와 홍의단 제와라 에서바도메 바 트데 에서그나라 에서라 내라 쳬비나마 라랑 그 쳬자도 바도메 바 트데 아니 초지자와 사다 제와 탐자라 쳬바 푸데 대다 그 두지라 대동그 시켜바 지야 매와제 대다 그 구선 두지 치라 탐제 아니 뒤지 에서다 제외 넘버 2네 아니 도시대와 홍나 제와라 팀바당 초진에 다시 섬제 탐제 안에 도시sem비 컴바나 거바 그 도시sem바 탐제 추도데 도시대와 될라 템바 메야 될라 되니체 뒤세드스다 뒤임바리
So then
이제 가셔라 되니체 요 말에 뒤스 요아래 되니체 가셔라 요아래 요 말에 다들 전다데 제시하고 그래 되니체 뒤세드 된다 뒤래
So then you think that from that radiation of that light, from the Vajra, which is at the heart of the Vajrasattva upon your head, you think that that is, again, those light rays have caused the transformation, the purification of all sentient beings from all of their obscurations and the negativities that they've created from beginninglessly. And that then that in turn, that purification of them transforms them into the state of Vajrasattva, into having the nature of Vajrasattva. And then likewise, you think that the light rays from that hung that's at the heart of the Vajra, which is at the heart of Vajrasattva upon the top of your head, it goes out, and likewise at the tip of the light rays that are radiated from that Vajra, that central hung at the center of the Vajra, within the Vajrasattva at the top of your head, that goes out and performs worship to all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout the entire expanse of the universe. And that worship of them, in turn, serves to engender the bliss of the gnosis of indivisible bliss and emptiness within their hearts. And then that, in turn, flows back down into the to the Hung at the heart of the Vajra, at the center of the Vajra, which is within the center of, at the heart of Vajrasattva on the top of your head. And so you think that all of that comes back down. So in this way, doing that visualization in this way, you're in effect performing the aims of others. You're accomplishing the aims of others by performing this purification of all sentient beings throughout the universe, accomplishing their aims, transforming them into Vajrasattva. And then likewise, you're performing your own aim through this worship of, performing that worship of all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout the universe. And then all of that, virtue and flows in the form of light and nectar back down into the Hung at the heart, the center of the Vajra that's standing up on the heart of Vajrasattva on the top of your head.
Oh yeah. Tini ta du yonsu chuwa le, tini doje kapu ane zenga wate yonsu chuwa le, ane doje saba kundo kapu shashi chani, ane doje da chivu zimba, ane yum doje nyama, jike le yina yum doje nyama kamo shashi chani chivu da taba zimba, sanwa duba le yina doje inji wanju ma doje tang chivu zimba, ta du zi jie yin pari, right? Yeah.
Okay. I mistranslated something earlier. I made it sound like the Vajrasattva was already on the top of your head. I have to correct that. What you've visualized at this point is, again, just you've generated the lotus, the moon, and the Hung, Vajra marked by the Hung at its center. That's the visualization that you did up to this point. And then from the Hung at the center of the Vajra, standing upon the moon and the lotus on top of your head, then the light rays have gone out and transformed all the sentient beings into Vajrasattva and worshipped all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so forth. Then all of that flows back into what you've achieved through that flows back into the Hung at the center of the Vajra on top of your head, on the moon disk and the lotus on top of your head. And then again, so you think then that Vajra then, through that process of the light nectar, from all of that flowing back into the Vajra, that it then transforms into Vajrasattva in male and female form, in which both of whom have bodies that are of white in color. And then there's the character of the mother aspect of Vajrasattva here is given the name of Dorjinyema in the, and I don't know the Sanskrit of that, in the Vajrabhairava sadhana practice, but in the, like for example in the Guhya Samaja and so forth, she is given the name of Vajradhatvishvari. And so there's difference there. It doesn't matter, or just two different systems of doing it. In the Guhya Samaja and other systems, then she's holding a cleaver and a skull cup, and so there's that difference. So isn't it the case that some of these have been translated, these generation self? So I'm just giving you a kind of a course overview, rough overview of this subject. It's been translated at the beginning of a lot of these sadhana texts where you generate yourself as a deity.
Oh yeah, 도시 더 주고 좀 염도시 년마가 뭐 샤지 주고 단 터바 좀 발라 주비 터바 좀 봐. 네가 뭐 얘기한다. 뭐 얘기한다. 다시 나서 이게 네가 그 안에 좀 봐. 두가홍来서 트니 아니 란지 시바 짠차네 아니 마 때문에 있으면 봐. 장우요 있으면 봐 줄. 란지 시바 빠도 봐 짠니 아니 지위 도시 세바텔라 마 팀디 아니 담에 있으면 봐 줘야. 나 두가홍 来서 트니 아니 왕라 짠차네 왕个사람지 아니 도시 세바이면서 왕구가 되라. 또 왕가는 제한랑 지시셔 왔는데 다른 거 시에서 되게 되는지 시지 지가 이품바도 엄서와다다가 암비션 세마이 싫어왕 시에 왕구가 되나 구강 처마다 시라마 지주도 치와 용수 주어라 안에 미지리다 미제바 오젠바 와 롭지 주다요.
So then, what one then does is, once one has visualized Vajrasattva in this mother-father form, where you have Vajrasattva, which is holding Vajra and Bel, the mother form is holding sometimes also Vajra Bel, sometimes or sometimes other times cleaver and skull bowl or skull cup, and in either case, you think that from the Hung at their heart, their limitless light rays are emanated again, and then from those light rays, they draw into themselves the gnosis beings that are take the form of Vajrasattva in mother-father form, and they dissolve into, they absorb into the Vajrasattva mother-father on the top of one's head. And then likewise, these from the Hung at their hearts again, this light rays are emitted once more, and then that invites all of the initiating deities, who then pour nectar upon the Vajrasattva father, mother, performing the initiation, and then during the course of that, there's the recitation of the mantra that goes along with that, the Om Abhisheka Samaya Samaya Sattva, and so forth. I'm just kind of giving an overview of this, and then you think that
oh yeah.
왕군에 되네.
다 왕라 짠차네. 아니 왕라 대다가 왕구루. 아니 저 가서래 토마타 취라마야 주발래. 아니 리담미지바가 오젠.
So then you think that through that initiation that they've received, that their bodies are filled with the light nectar, and that the water that is the substance of the initiation there fills their bodies, and the remainder of that comes, there's a remainder of that forms at the top of, at the forehead of Vajrasattva, and that transforms into the chief of the lord of that the family, which is Akshobhya in this case.
Oh yeah. 아니 미제바 오젠제 투가기 안에 다외된도 아니 호이게 달라도 이게 자용 아주 고와체 아주 깔보 이게 자용 아주 고와서 투가 다외도 이게 자용 아주 고와체 되니 대가서라 아니 좀 전에 제시면 다다 섬제 탐제 뒤에다 탐제 양자 탐제 chan시 다바 자주 소 세가들라 아니 말제지 아니 니와 대달라 두 콘도 상하다와 그 겨봐 아니 넘버 신지비 답대 마사라 다이세 아니 진짜 아니 가소래 자완에 미신양범 아니 배 충도 아니 왜 니와 자완에 쳐봐지 치고 양바기 니와 라라도 베다당 니와 라라도 베다당 어디 니와라도 보거든. 되니 디바 소바보다 사지 디바 강사비디 강라데나 사바 사지 디바 디비 코스모라시 메바도 아니 또에 템바치에나 아니 니보군데 집에도 되면은 다 달라디 이제 대와 거랑 니보군데 집에도 저거래.
So then, once one's done those visualizations, then one focuses again on the thinks that at the heart of Vajrasattva is the syllable hung, Vajra marked with a syllable hung, and then surrounding that is the 100-syllable mantra itself. And then when one does the recitation, one thinks that when does the recitation and visualizations and the purification that goes along with that, one thinks as the sort of the overriding attitude that one has while doing this is to think first of the negative actions that you performed from beginninglessly, or specific negative actions that one has performed, and have a strong sense of remorse or regret, remorse for having committed those negative actions. So that then is the first of the four opponent powers. The power of the eradication is the way it usually is translated. And then the next of the four powers is power of turning away from that action and thinking all of the negative actions you've committed in general or specific negative actions you performed, thinking that no matter how seemingly small or insignificant it might be, I'm going to avoid that from henceforth, from this time forward. I'm not going to engage in that negative action again. So that's then the power of turning away from the negative action. And then if one has the understanding, the recognition that the action, oneself as agent, the action itself, and then the objects of the action are all devoid of any kind of intrinsic nature. That functions again as the power of the antidote there. Or one could say that, or likewise, if one doesn't have that kind of understanding of emptiness or essencelessness, then one can then see the performance of the recitation of the 100-syllable mantra itself as the power of the antidote.
Oh, yeah, didn't he? Dini 가서 다섯 들이던 전년 삼선 여자들 다 봐도 쏘았다니 시소왔다가 두고 홍을 요새서 아니 도시세배 두고 홍과 홍일까 보다는 요새 최대 다시 공투下把 나신 랑 현대당 안내라 랑된다 현대의 미바디 심재 탐제 그 대장 시가라 현대의 미바체 아니 랑된의 미바체 산세세자를 예위 처바부 세계 아니 현대의 미바체 심재 탐지 그 산세심재 전남지 연대 탐제 아니 외지 넘버 뒤네 소시자 외지 넘버 때는 아니 두기 홍이더라 마팀데 아니 세지다 두도 표준 차와 줄을 세가라 홍이디 말레데 세지다 두도 표준 차와 줄을 세가라 어디다 이 가소래 줄이 주지기 개점면시 조고 아임바리 파죽이 나가서 세지다 두도 표준 차와 줄을 마죽이 나가서 디지털 탐제 상제 타바 줄을 세가라 여사 주지기 면제 줘야지 담민에 잡아주세요 말이
So then once one has set that attitude through thinking about these opponent powers, then one focuses again on the Hung, which is at the heart of Vajrasattva, visualized on the top of one's head. And then think again, do the visualization as was described previously, where light rays are radiated out from that white Hung at the top on the moon disk, surrounded by the 100-syllable mantra at the heart of Vajrasattva. And you think that those light rays, at the tips of them, again, they do that same kind of purification of all of the sentient beings throughout the entire universe. And in that way, one accomplishes the aims of others. And then likewise, light rays go out and perform worship to all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout the 10 directions and throughout the universe. And think in that way, by the merit that you're generating in that way, you you accomplish your own aim, producing the accumulation of merit. And then you imagine that all of these positive things that you've done through the emission of that, having that light ray, those light rays go out and being radiated, that they then absorb back down into the Hung upon the moon disk at the heart of Vajrasattva. And then there's two different ways of understanding. There are two different recitations, actually. One which says that it becomes that becomes the goodness of both existence and peace. That's one way of interpreting it, or one way of doing the recitation. And if one's doing it that way, then it's done in accordance with the way of the father tantras, and serves as the primary cause for the actualization of the illusory body. Whereas if one does it in the other way, in accordance with the mother tantras, one thinks that this reabsorption of the light rays that one has emitted purifies one of all the negative actions, and obscurations that one has accumulated through beginninglessly, and that in turn then serves as the primary cause for the actualization of the special luminosity, which is the characteristic of the mother tantra kind of practice.
Oh yeah. Then it had Hijela, and he did there in body. On Bessa, some Manubala Bessa, but the drum was so Jim Tangi, another massage, and then the Sokomachon, how we're going to sort out some sort of Janitati, he did there. And he don't sit down around, you should start it there, that dear Gavla, you should start doing Janny, doing she would take it, and you go to my giant. I'm going to my giant. You go to my giant. You know, I used to months the side with the giant. Didn't say really car, so I need to my giant to see by it. Well, that did that to do.
So then there's generally once one has done that, all of that visualization, then one recites the mantra as such, the mantra, 100-syllable mantra of Vajrasattva. And then there are different ways to do that. Normally, typically when one's doing a sadhana practice, one does it 21 times. But in this particular context of this practice, one does it 27. Sabdun. So one does it 28 times, four sets of 7. The reason here is that what one's doing then is through that process of purification is purifying one's body, one's speech, one's mind, and then all three of them together in combination.
Oh yeah, I need to just then tambu kaso. I need to just be talking Argentella, Carbo. I do Tago Garden, is a couple cola, then any tell it. This is a Javaki, any Junior Carbo Pammy. I need a Junior day, any good to the Jim Power Chitang. Yayumki, and 전전에 봐가지고 자신이 가르쳐내 저거지. 아니 요새 천에 아니란 거 지원에 마 쇼데 아니 토면에 사회 디디 파 아니 가서 리주권에 사회 디디 파자다 잡아 파타 아니 보안 신압지 구도도 저 두고 두벽이 니바샤에 어디다 두시잖아요.
Then when one does this visualization, the first set of 7 recitations of the 100-syllable mantra that you do, one thinks that while one's doing that recitation, that it's doing the emission and absorption of the light in white form, white light rays, during the course of that recitation of the first set of 7 100-syllable mantras, visualizing that. And you think that you likewise visualize that there's the descent within you from, there's 2 ways to do it. One can visualize the descent of the like light nectar white light nectar coming down in the form of into your body and purifying you of all of the negative actions as well as obscurations that are you've generated through with your body initially. So you do that visualization in that way. There's two ways of doing this. Seeing it as coming from the body of Vajrasattva or from where Vajrasattva, male and female, are joined together, mother and father are joined together and coming down through the crown of your head and filling up your body and purifying you of all the obscurations that you've created in that way. The point of this here in this context is that by doing this, by purifying you of all of the actions, negative actions you've created through your body, then that is analogous to the attainment of the vase initiation, and it also serves as the basis for the eventual actualization of the illusory body, and then in the resultant state, the actualization of the Nirmanakaya.
아니 가서 리지 점마 자주 간라 예대 나그 점마 자주 간라 아니 매대 아니 리지 점마 자주 간라 풍대 아니另外有种太天就是在于점마 타바 티나야 풍대 전에 다 두수 자고 하래 풍대 가선 참매도 줘야 왜 응애 저 현자고 풍대스나 세계 대주파자 탐자랑 그 유지 난칸이 강도 강 대시 탐자 가서 참여도 마치 아니 타바데라 아니 풍대스 거래 봐
Yeah. All at once? Oh, okay. So there are different ways in which you do the visualization of the nectar, light nectar flowing into your body. There's where you visualize it coming up from basically flowing down to the base of your body and then filling you up from below gradually. Or there's another way of visualizing it in which you see it as descending and essentially accumulating at the top of your body in your head and filling that up and then gradually filling up the rest of your body as it increases and flows down. And then the third way of doing this visualization is seeing it all sort of like filling up the entirety of your body in one stage.
Oh yeah, that any 대제자 아니 여단 뒤지 마보 rem신 여단 뒤지 마보 아니 최와라 때냐 양치 조원은 마슈데 아니 도면에 사회 디디 탐제 지당 제바당 아게 권나 사회 디디 차에 아니 상여왕 토베 아게 처마장에 아니 숨기치라 토야게 메와치.
So then you do the same kind of visualization, but in the second set of 7 recitations of the 100-syllable mantra, you see the light nectar coming down in the form, in a red form, and you think, again, that this is purifying you of all of the different kinds of negative actions and obscurations that you've accumulated through your speech. This you think that this visualization purifies you of all of those negative actions and obscurations, and purifies your speech in that way. This is analogous then to the obtainment of the secret initiation, and it purifies your speech in particular, and empowers, it provides you with an empowerment of your speech or blessing of your speech.
Oh, 드니야. 성공부 처와라 때네. 아니 지원은 마슈바기. 아니 이주권은 부타 사바기 처마타바. 아니 사왕 시셔라비시 왕 토바. 처망하기 처마 좌에. 아니 송도지 송도지 주빈이 와샤야.
송도지.
예스 마부트네. 이러와
suma
담보 까보인바 감마보 되네 팅가 되네 까마틴숨 다치바치자래 저만도.
So then the next one does visualization of the light, descent of the light and filling your body, purifying it of all obscurations that have to do with the mind, that you've mental misconduct or negativities that you've created mentally, and you visualize that that's purifying your mind of all of those obscurations, and that in turn is analogous then to the wisdom gnosis initiation, and purifies you and blesses, empowers your mind to be able to actualize the Gendi Tingnak Sumpati Tingnak Sa. 시럽예식 왕톡.
시럽 왕처는 들이. 아니 투지 틀어 위라시오.
투기 증아. 아니 제부 투기 제부.
대자고 말에 맞잖아 들이. 나 자거리 차요 만.
So it empowers you with the sort of blessing of the mind, your mind to be transformed into a Buddha. And then likewise, then the fourth one is the combination of all three that descends and purifies you as well.
예, 다른 대샤쇼. 사시시베지 조심매매도 당 저라는데 상제 신도 미디 보고